Hey fellow nerds, it's Justin from the Credulous Nerds, and I want to welcome you to our first Credulous Nerds minicast, where we try to do a daily episode of 10 to 15 minutes, where we just talk about something that's on our minds or the latest announcements, whether it's books, movies, TV, comics, whatever we feel like our audience would like to hear. We spent some time talking about that and just giving you a daily dose of what we like to talk about and listen to. So today, in our inaugural episode, I thought I would talk about Star Wars The Last Jedi on home video. This was released on March 13th, 2018 as a digital download. And if you have iTunes or Vudu or Amazon Prime or some similar digital platform, you're able to buy that on March 13th and start watching The Last Jedi at home. And for those that like the physical copies, whether it's Blu-ray or 4K Ultra or just the normal DVD, The Last Jedi will be released on March 27th, 2018. So at the time of this recording, which today is March 24th, this home video will be available this coming Tuesday. So if you haven't bought the digital download or are waiting for this physical copy, you're in luck, as you'll be able to get it at your local retailer on Tuesday. But I ended up buying the digital copy through iTunes on March 13th and spent some time watching it. And a lot of great features. Obviously, there's the film that we saw in theaters. There isn't any new additions or anything like that. It's just the straight up release that we saw in theaters, and great quality, great presentation, sounds awesome. Enjoyed watching it. I watched it a couple times since I bought it and have enjoyed it just as much as I did in the theater. But as far as the special features, which is the reason why most people buy the digital copy early, because you're able to get the deleted scenes, and in this case there were 14 deleted scenes. A lot of them were just, 30 seconds, a minute, pretty short, while a couple were more than a few minutes. So, good addition there for the home video release of The Last Jedi. There were a couple that I liked. Well, I guess there was more than a couple. I probably liked 90% of them. And then there were a couple where like, it's fine, but definitely worth getting for the deleted scenes and watching those. There's also a full-length documentary about the making of The Last Jedi. It's called The Director and the Jedi. And I watched that, and it was very informative. I think it helped boost the overall sense of the movie. Like, you get to see where Rian Johnson is coming from and what his perspective is. And you get to see a lot of behind-the-scenes moments. They interview the actors, and you see kind of them filming the show. There's a lot of explanation of why they filmed certain scenes certain ways, that sort of thing. You get to see Frank Oz and his re-involvement with Yoda and how that scene was shot. And so a lot of great moments in this documentary. That's definitely worth the price of the film alone. And just watching that, it's an hour and a half or so, so it's, full length. Could be its own movie, basically. And definitely worth seeing if you get the digital or the home video. There's another shorter sequence, another shorter documentary about the balance of the Force that talks about the mythology of the Force and how Rian Johnson perceived the Force and how he presented it in The Last Jedi. And that was, for me, very interesting and one of the key parts of this whole presentation, the whole home video release. I enjoyed watching this and just kind of seeing how he perceived the Force and how Rey and Kylo were the new bearers of the Force, I guess you could say. It's not a superpower, was probably the key phrase that they used. The Force isn't a superpower, and it shouldn't be used that way. And I think we as fans often start to think of the Force as another superpower like Superman has, or Green Lantern or something. If you have it, you use it a certain way. But that's not the role of the Force. It's never been the role of the Force. If you look back at the original trilogy and even the prequel trilogy, the Force was its own character. It has its own place in this Star Wars universe. And I think we as fans often forget that. So it's good to be reminded of that while watching that. There's 3 scene breakdowns that I haven't watched yet, called Lighting the Spark. It talks about the opening space battle. And then Snoke and Mirrors, and Showdown on Crate. There's another special feature called Andy Serkis Live, One Night Only. And I watched this, and you get to see the throne room sequence with Rey, Kylo Ren, and Snoke. And without Snoke's CG face, basically, is what it is. You get to see Andy Serkis's performance with the mocap camera on his face with the dots and everything. And it was cool to see probably 30 seconds of it, and then you kind of get bored. It wasn't that interesting to me, but maybe others will find that interesting. Then obviously there's an audio commentary from Rian Johnson, who wrote and directed the film. So I haven't listened to that either, but I'm sure it also expands on, his reasoning for writing the story the way he did and the character development that he had in this film, which a lot of people didn't like. I didn't mind most of it. We'll get into that later on a different show, but because that would take more than 10 to 15 minutes to cover that. So the home video release, The Last Jedi, available now for the digital platforms, and then the physical copy this Tuesday on March 27th, 2018. So highly recommend it. There's going to be different versions as usual with home video release nowadays. There's a couple exclusive versions. There's the DVD only version. There's the Blu-ray and DVD, and then there's the Blu-ray and DVD in 4K Ultra version. And then, just all kinds of different packaging. My go-to with the Star Wars lately has been the Best Buy packaging. That is the Steelbook exclusive. It has a different artwork on the cover. It's a metal case. And it just matches well. I've got all other films from the Star Wars saga, episodes 1 through 7 and Rogue One. I've got that Steelbook exclusive version. So I want to keep, the next Star Wars film in that same format. So I know Target has an exclusive version with, they usually include like a booklet, an art of The Last Jedi. I think it is what it is, 25 pages or so of that Art of the Last Jedi book. And then Walmart has an exclusive version. It's all the same movie with the same features. It's just kind of, how do you want your packaging? How do you want to display it? Which is kind of turning into its own collector's item, right? You want it all to match. You want the version that you want. So I know some fans go out and buy, all versions to display on their shelves. But if you like to do that, great. But that's a little expensive for me to buy the movie over and over and over again. I mean, I buy the digital copy, which is like $20, and then to go out and buy the Steelbook version is another $20. So I think that's plenty to spend on one movie. But as much as I watch them, it's, I definitely get the use out of them. But some fans are a little more hardcore than that, which is just fine. So yeah, Star Wars The Last Jedi. if you've seen it, I'm sure most of you have that are listening to this podcast. If you haven't, you should go see it, or at least buy the DVD or the Blu-ray or the digital copy. I know it's still in theaters as of this recording, but watching it at home is just a good experience, I think. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, see it. Let us know what you think. We've done a couple review shows back in December and January, I believe, early January, where we talked about what the Credulous Nerds thought of this film, Mark and I, and we'll probably address it in the future. It's a controversial movie. A lot of fans didn't like it. A lot of fans did. And there's not much middle ground. I think most fans liked it, but it's not their favorite, I think is what the consensus is from what I'm hearing from the fan community. I'm kind of in that camp as well. I enjoyed it. It was great to see Luke Skywalker back on the big screen, having an influence in the story. And I think that's where a lot of the fan criticism comes from, is that, Luke Skywalker is back, our hero from Return of the Jedi. He vanquished Vader, helped overthrow the Emperor, and him and the rebels won the Galactic War. But now he's in hiding and doesn't want anything to do with, Princess Leia, the rebellion, the resistance, whatever you want to call it now. He's just kind of off in hiding. And so I think that's the biggest criticism. We're not seeing our hero that we last saw in Return of the Jedi. And admittedly, it's been 30 years, a lot can happen in 30 years. And a lot did happen with Luke Skywalker. So I think the knee-jerk reaction is fans were very disappointed. I know I kind of was. But at the same time, I did like the character arc of Luke. I mean, no one can stay a hero forever. And we kind of saw that with Han Solo in The Force Awakens, where he was, a hero of the Galactic Civil War. But yet we revisit him in The Force Awakens in Episode 7, and he's kind of this deadbeat dad. He's ran away from his relationship with Leia Organa. He's kind of distanced himself from his son, Kylo Ren, and he's off in hiding. So it's a very similar take on the character of Luke Skywalker, and there wasn't that much of a backlash as we're getting with Luke as there was with Han. So I find that interesting, but we can talk about that later on our regular podcast with Mark. But yeah, let us know what you think of Star Wars The Last Jedi, of the special features from this home video release, what you thought of the director and the Jedi, or the balance of the Force, or the different deleted scenes. My favorite deleted scene was the one where there's a scene where it's basically the third lesson. If we remember in the film that Luke was going to teach Rey 3 lessons, and we only saw 2 in the film. And this third lesson was that she ran off to help the indigenous people, or I guess they're not people, the indigenous creatures that were caretaking the village. And Luke had told Rey that they were under attack, and it's just kind of the way of things. You just got to accept it. But Rey, with her big heart that she has, wanted to go help them, so she ran off with her lightsaber to go defend the attack. But she gets there and things aren't what they seem. I won't spoil it for you, but they are not what they seem, and she's mad at Luke, and that's when she kind of decides she wants to leave and, leave Luke to his, whatever he's doing on that island, his solitary ways. And so she is mad at him, and that's kind of the end of the scene. But that was probably my favorite one. A couple other ones were pretty good. We get to see an extended version of Finn, Rose, and DJ, the hacker, as they make their way through the super Star Destroyer of Snoke's flagship to disable whatever it is they're trying to disable so that they can't be tracked through hyperspace. And so there's kind of an extended scene on that, how they meet up with an old acquaintance of Finn, which actually is Tom Hardy from Batman, The Dark Knight Rises. He played Bane in that, and he was playing Venom in the upcoming Venom movie. But he was a stormtrooper in that scene, so look for that. And then one of my favorite deleted scenes from this release is there's an extended fight scene, or just an alternate take of the fight scene between Captain Phasma, the Silver Stormtrooper, and Finn. We get to see it a little more drawn out, a little more dialogue, and I wish they would have somehow edited these two scenes, the one that's in the film as well as this deleted scene. I wish they would have edited them together so that it's a longer scene, because we definitely got shortchanged on Phasma in this movie. And that was a complaint from me is, they built up Phasma to be this really great fighter. She has a backstory that's been told in comics and in a full-length novel of building up how great she is. But yet she has like 5 minutes maybe of screen time, and they definitely need to address that. Personally, I think Phasma survives this. I mean, she survived the last movie where the whole base, Starkiller base, blew up, and obviously we thought she was dead, but she's back. And I think they can do a similar thing with her. That'd be kind of a running joke where, no matter what you do, she still survives, and she's escaping these cataclysmic events, and she keeps coming back. But if they do that, they need to give her like a good story, give her some good screen time. And they kind of did that with this deleted scene. But in the end, Finn still beats her and escapes. So I thought that was a great deleted scene. It added more depth to the character of Phasma, and I liked that. Yeah, check it out. Let us know what you think. And if you have any topics for the future that you want the Credulous Nerds to address, definitely send us an email at thecredulousnerds@gmail.com, or you can comment on our Facebook posts on our Facebook group, The Credulous Nerds. You can always reach out to us via Twitter or Instagram as well, Credulous Nerds. And we want to hear from our audience, and we want to hear what you guys are interested in, and we'll definitely talk about those things, because I'm sure we're interested in them as well. We're interested in the major franchises, Star Wars, Star Trek, DC Comics, Marvel Comics, the movies, the X-Files, the Upside Down with Stranger Things, Harry Potter, Harry Dresden, all kinds of things, all of those major ones. But we also have some interest in the lesser known franchises as well. So let us know what you're interested in, and we'll definitely take a look at those to talk about them as well. So I want to thank you for joining me, Justin, on this inaugural daily mini cast, I guess you could say, of the Credulous Nerds, where we just spend a few minutes talking about what we like to talk about. And in this case, it was Star Wars The Last Jedi home video release. So thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.